The attic smelled like old wood, dust, and summers long gone. Sunlight streamed through a cracked window, catching the air in 1,000 tiny golden motes. 13-year-old Evan knelt on the creaky floorboards, rummaging through a pile of boxes his mom had asked him to sort. "Just throw away what we don't need," she'd said. "Your father would have wanted that." But Evan wasn't sure what they needed anymore. It had been 6 months since his dad passed away. A heart attack, sudden and cruel. His mom barely spoke about it. The house had grown quiet, even though the world outside kept moving on. Evan missed the sound of his dad's laugh, his smell of sawdust and coffee, and the way he'd call him Champ, even when Evan messed up. He sighed, pushing another box aside. Then something caught his eye. A roll of yellowed paper, wedged between an old toolbox and a rusted bike chain. He tugged it free and unrolled it carefully. It was a drawing. Lines, measurements, labels. It looked like blueprints. At the top, written in his dad's familiar handwriting, were the words, "Evan's Treehouse, Summer Project, 2015. Evan blinked. He was only 5 that summer, too young to remember any of this clearly. But as he stared at the plans, the ladder, the balcony, the trap door, memories started to return like faint echoes. His dad's laughter, the smell of fresh-cut wood, and the sound of a hammer on nails. They never finished it. That summer, his dad got laid off. Then came bills, stress, and long nights at the kitchen table. The plans must have been tucked away and forgotten. Evan ran his hand over the faded paper. "Guess it's just you and me now, Dad," he whispered. And in that quiet attic, he made himself a promise. He would finish what his father started. The next morning, Evan biked down to the big oak tree behind their backyard, the one his dad used to call the heart of the yard. It was still strong, its thick branches stretching toward the sky. He looked up, imagining what it could be, a fort, a hideout, a place where time stopped. Then he glanced down at the plans again. The handwriting was messy, but the meaning was clear. Ladder first, then floor beams, then walls. "Okay, Dad, let's do this." He started small. He borrowed his dad's old hammer and a bucket of nails from the garage. The wood was trickier. He found some leftover planks from the shed renovation, but not enough, so he spent his allowance at the hardware store, where the clerk raised an eyebrow. "Building something, kid?" Evan grinned. "Yeah, something important." Every afternoon after school, he worked in the yard, measuring, sawing, and hammering. At first, his mom didn't notice. She was too busy balancing work and exhaustion. But when she finally saw what he was building, she froze at the back door. "Evan," she whispered, eyes wide, "where did you get those plans?" He said simply, "In the attic. They're Dad's." Tears welled in her eyes before she turned away. "You can't just... It's not safe. You could hurt yourself." He looked up at her from the ladder, sweaty and determined. "Dad was going to build it for me," he said softly. "Maybe I could build it for him." She stared at him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Okay," she whispered. "But you're not doing it alone." From that day on, his mom became his helper, reluctant at first, then quietly grateful. She held boards steady, handed him tools, and told him old stories about his dad. "Did you know he built our dining table by hand?" she said one afternoon. Evan smiled. "I figured. It's too crooked to be from a store." She laughed, really laughed, for the first time in months. They spent every weekend together in the backyard, building piece by piece. Sometimes neighbors would stop by to watch. Old Mr. Langdon from next door donated leftover wood. The twins down the block helped paint. Bit by bit, something beautiful began to rise among the branches. Not just a treehouse, but the return of life to their home. One Saturday, Evan was hammering the final nails into the floorboards when he noticed something scratched on one of the old beams. Faint, almost invisible. "For my boy, the best view in the world." He froze. It was his dad's handwriting. He called for his mom, who, rushing out. When she saw it, she pressed her hand to her mouth. "I forgot he wrote that," she said softly. "He carved it one night after you fell asleep." Evan swallowed hard. "He really wanted to finish it, didn't he?" She nodded. "He did. He said it would be your first fort, your first home, that you built together." Evan turned back to the treehouse, eyes bright with tears. "Then we'll finish it together, even if he's not here." Weeks turned into months. Winter came and went. Spring bloomed. By June, the treehouse was nearly complete. Wooden walls, small windows, even a rope swing. Inside, Evan hung pictures of him and his dad, fishing, fixing the car, building toy rockets. And right above the entrance, he nailed a small wooden sign, "Dad's View." That night, as the sun set behind the trees, Evan climbed up and sat in the treehouse for the first time. The world below looked small, distant. The sky stretched wide and endless. He took a deep breath. "We did it, Dad," he whispered. A soft breeze rustled the leaves, gentle, warm, almost like a sigh. And for a moment, he thought he could smell sawdust and coffee again. Then he heard it, faint, like an echo through time. "Good job, champ." Evan froze, eyes wide. It was his father's voice. He looked around, heart pounding, but there was no one there. Just the sound of wind through the branches. He smiled softly. "Miss you too." The next day, his mom found him sitting on the porch, sketching something in his notebook. "What's that?" she asked. He turned the page toward her. It was another set of plans, detailed, neat, drawn in pencil. "It's a new project. A ramp for the treehouse, so you can come up too." She smiled, tears glistening. "You've got his gift, you know." Evan shrugged. "Nah, I just got his heart." That summer, the treehouse became more than just a fort. It became a gathering place. For his friends, for his mom, for neighbors who needed a place to breathe. They hosted small barbecues, movie nights with a projector, even birthdays under the stars. Every person who climbed up said the same thing. "It feels peaceful here." And every time, Evan would smile and say, "Yeah, that's kind of the point." Years later, when Evan grew up and moved out, the treehouse still stood strong. He left it just as it was, except for one thing. On the inside wall, he carved new words beside his dad's old message. "For my kids, so they'll know where home really is." And every now and then, when the wind passed through the branches just right, you could still hear two voices laughing together. One young, one older, and the sound of a hammer tapping softly in rhythm with the leaves. Because some promises never fade. They just wait to be finished by the next pair of hands. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, what's something you've finished in memory of someone you loved? Because love doesn't end when someone's gone. It just finds new ways to keep building.